Hey people! Today I want to talk to you about the latest purchase that I did, which was Apple's Mac Mini with the M1 chip. It's actually this small machine here. I'm using it already for 2 months now, and I just want to talk you through what I'm using this machine for and if I would suggest it to you or not. So stay tuned! When Apple announced the first generation of M1 chips last year, I got really excited right away. But I hesitated a bit because I didn't know if all my programs that I'm working with were compatible with a new chip. I predominantly work with Premiere Pro, After Effects, and DaVinci Resolve.
Hi. Weirdo.
So for me, obviously, it's very important that those programs run very smoothly on my new computer.
It comes to me very naturally to compare the Mac Mini's performance with my previous setup, the MacBook Pro 2015.
In this video, I'm going to focus on the performance in Premiere Pro and After Effects. I'm still cutting in Premiere Pro because I really enjoy the combination between After Effects and Premiere. What you need to know when you work with Adobe programs on a new Mac with an M1 chip is that almost none of them are running natively on the new M1 chips. Until now.
Map update.
On July 20, Adobe released a new version of Premiere Pro that runs natively on Apple Silicon M1. This happened during the editing process of my video, so I have to rearrange everything. After Effects is still not running natively on the new M1 chips. To use After Effects, you have to install Rosetta, which is a third software that allows you to use Intel-based programs on the new Mac. But right now it's time to dive into a direct comparison between my previous setup, the MacBook Pro 2015, and the new Mac Mini. Updating this video, I'm also going to include a short sequence about the difference between the Intel-based version versus the optimized version of Premiere Pro for the M1 chips and how they are running on the new Mac Mini. Here I have a project. It's actually my showreel that I edited a few months ago. It contains larger and smaller video files, full HD and 4K. Scrubbing through, it's not very smooth, which was a little bit annoying. And usually I create proxies when working with larger video files, but yeah, it gets a little bit tiring. And I opened the same project on my new Mac. And yeah, as you can see, it's quite easy. I can just scrub through and it's very smooth. I don't need to make proxies for this. I can just cut it directly in Premiere. And yeah, it's really nice. One thing that already bugged me when I still used the Intel-based version of Premiere on my new Mac Mini is that there is some weird bug using the roll edit tool. And I thought this would be solved once the new optimized version of Premiere Pro for the new M1 chips would be available. But obviously they didn't solve the bug. It's still there. And yeah, I was actually counting on this to really work. But it doesn't, so I'm a bit surprised. One of the most important things I have to do in my workflow is, of course, exporting my sequence. So I'm starting with the export of my showreel that I just showed you on my MacBook Pro. What is happening now, and this is happening of course all the time while I'm exporting on my old MacBook, is that the fans of my MacBook are turning on right after starting the export. The machine is getting also pretty hot, I have the feeling that the whole thing is going to fly away. It's very loud and I'm always a bit scared that the thing is going to overheat and just shuts down. But in the end, everything went fine, and after 2 minutes and 40 seconds, my export is done. So what I'm doing now is making the same thing on the Mac Mini. I'm taking the same project, using the same project settings, and export my video file. I'm listening to the sound of the Mac Mini and there is none. It's so quiet. It gets a little bit warm, like room temperature or something, but it's far away from being hot. Also, the exporting time is quite convincing.
Using the Intel-based version of Premiere, the Mac Mini needed 1 minute and 29 seconds to export the video. Using the new version of Premiere, the Mac Mini needed only 47 seconds to finish the export. The next thing I want to do is running a similar test using After Effects on both my MacBook Pro and on the Mac Mini. Please keep in mind that After Effects is not optimized for the new M1 chips yet, so I'm still using the Intel-based version for this test. Starting with a MacBook Pro, I'm opening this small animation project that I did a while ago and playing the composition back. It's already quite fast, like I have almost real-time playback, period. Now I'm rendering the composition, and as before, the MacBook Pro is running pretty hot and also is a little bit loud. But the export is done in only 20 seconds, which is super fast actually. Now I'm doing the same thing on the Mac Mini, and I have almost the same feeling scrubbing through and playing back the composition that I already opened earlier on the MacBook Pro. It is quite fast. I have almost real-time playback, so I shortened this up a bit and jump right into the export time. Exporting on the Mac Mini in After Effects is taking very long compared to the MacBook Pro. It takes 3 minutes and 26 seconds to complete the export. This is a huge amount of time compared to the MacBook Pro. But during all this time, the Mac Mini stays really cool and very silent. Conclusion. Coming back to the questions that I asked in the beginning. Would I suggest you to buy this machine or not? Well, that depends. What are you using the machine for? And what was your previous setup? Because in my opinion, if you bought a MacBook in 2020 or 2019, maybe it's not the time to buy a new Mac with an M1 chip right now, because already you have a really good performance, and maybe it's good to wait until the second generation. But if you have like an older machine like I did, I think it's going to be a huge upgrade. Also, what really helped me in my decision making was I was going online, looking on some forums, because I didn't know, should I wait until the second generation comes out, or should I just buy this one? And sometimes the second generation is better, they already solved some problems, blah, blah. But I found this really nice sentence: just buy the best thing that is available right now, because you can always wait for something better to come out. And there's always going to be improvement. There's always going to be something better tomorrow. But you have to make a decision. If you need something and you're not like satisfied with your previous setup, buy it now. You can still sell this thing if something new comes up and buy the new stuff. So get over it. If you don't have the expenses to buy like a really high-end computer, if you don't have like 10,000 euros or 5,000 even to pay for like a really professional post-production setup, then I would definitely suggest this machine to you. I do not have the expenses to buy like a super high-end machine, and for me, 1,300 euros is already a lot. But for this price, I'm really satisfied. Sometimes I have some issues using like really large video files, and I still have to make proxies to make it work. But it's a huge difference from my previous setup. Also, if you're already owning a monitor, a keyboard, and all those external stuff, then the Mac Mini is really a good choice, because you can plug everything in, start working, you have a really nice minimalist setup. This now sounds really like an Apple advertisement. They are not like giving me money for this. It's just my free opinion I'm giving you here. So if you have any questions, just comment down below. I will answer if I can. And yeah, bye. Okay.
You can also say don't forget to subscribe.
Ah, yeah.
Because maybe someone wants to subscribe, and then you can get a subscriber.
It's true.
Yeah.
And don't forget to
subscribe to my channel. We do this conclusion again.